And so let's kind of just open up this discussion, like with Talk Free. A lot of times we know that there are plenty of things in our life that disrupt our peace. Like they just straight up disrupt it. And whether it's somebody saying something to you, whether it's something that's kind of odd or something that just kind of puts you back a little bit, you're like, is this something that I really want to do today? Like, do I really want to talk about this? What's going on, everybody? And so I just think that it's funny, like we have to talk about these things, because when we don't talk about protecting our peace, we find that we lose it often, right? And so it could be a comment, it could be a post that you saw, and we find that worry, being consumed, being like, frustrated, all that stuff begins to like cloud our mind. It begins to come up in our mind. And so I posted that today because I was really interested in having a discussion about how to protect our peace, because everything that we talk about here is about staying free. Everything we talk about, anything, whether we bring up, it doesn't matter what we bring up, we're going to talk about staying free no matter what it is, right? So you have to protect your peace. And that's the one thing I find, that when we're consumed with worry, we're consumed with care, we're consumed with all these other things, if you are not taking those steps to protect your peace, you'll find that you get disrupted. And then your day is disrupted. You begin to disrupt other people's day, and it doesn't make any sense. So we got to get some points together about being there. So I appreciate it. So I actually am doing well. So I did put a call out today, and I was like, how is everybody doing? I know where I live, it was a little rainy, it was a little funky. So I wanted to see how everybody was doing. The season change is a really big thing, and everybody needs to know, like, we have to know for a fact what's going on. It's so much. I know it's everybody's like loving each other and all live right now, which is so dope. I appreciate you guys for being here. And so when we have these particular things that happen in our life that cause us to just kind of get distracted, whether it's, I'm going to use, for example, sometimes I have to make, like phone calls for work and different things like that. And so when I'm doing these different things, someone will make a comment, or you'll realize that where their place is coming from is because they're not in a place of peace themselves. So I guess the first step is to take a step back and evaluate the situation, right? So let's just start there. Take a step back and find out, okay, if my peace is disrupted today, if I found that I'm not quite where I need to be and I don't feel like I'm at peace, the question would be why. You have to really do some self-seeking and find out, why am I not at peace today? Why do I feel like my brain is disrupted? I cannot focus. I'm not, focused on what I should be doing today. And a lot of times you have to find out that why. I for one would love to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. I'm kind of a hopeless optimistic, right? So when people come at me with a bad day and they come at me with something, I'm like, your tone is a little off right now. I'm going to find out why you're having a bad day, because apparently, because your peace is being disrupted today, you are perpetually like disrupting peace around you. And that's not the type of energy that we need in our lives. We can't have that. That's not something that we can cling to, but that one comment or that one thing you see online or something that family may say could disrupt the whole day. Some people might be really bad drivers. Like I know some people that get real hot if they get cut off on the road or they can't drive, or here where the exits are really crazy. I know back home, like where I'm from, like the exits are nuts. And if you cannot drive, like no matter where you are, driving will kind of set your day off, especially if it's something that a parent or a child has said to you. It's a little off, right? And so we have to protect our peace at all costs. So if we don't get anything from tonight, we got to say, protect your peace at all costs. And a lot of times, even as a parent, like as a mom, I find myself, my peace is not being protected because my kid is all over the place and he's doing something, and I find that I'm being moved, right? So stop, evaluate, how am I feeling right now? That's why we ask each other, how are you doing? How are you feeling? And sometimes even when you're talking at work, if a coworker is talking with you, or even if you're home with a friend or a family member, sometimes you need to stop for a second and ask people how they're doing. Stop for a second. If they're coming at you, like, put this down. Don't do that. Like, I don't know why you're coming at me like that. Like, take a second and be like, are you okay? And with a smile, genuinely ask people how they're doing. Because something happened to me. I'm going to share this with you because I love to share stories here. The other day, I was actually working with a consumer. I was working with a client, and she was not able to answer an open-ended question. So sometimes, when you ask somebody how their day was, that's an open-ended question. Sometimes you'll get a fine. It's not a yes or no answer. So by saying open-ended, it's like, hey, How are you doing? All right, then that opens up the opportunity for people to speak with you, right? Or, you know, you don't, it's just not yes or no. You know, are you happy today? That's yes or no. Or, you know, are you mad? That's yes or no. Or why are you mad is an open-ended question, right? So we have to ask people if they are okay. So in this scenario, I have to ask questions for my professional career, right? I have to ask questions. So I'm asking questions about just what I have to ask it for, her life, her, birth history, different things like that. And I ask questions about her child, and she's having a really hard time expressing herself because she's not in a good place. Now I can vibe off this because I can vibe off people real easy, and I know exactly what's going on with people. So immediately my cordial hat is on and I'm extremely nice. So that's a really good way to kind of thwart things. When you start feeling somebody get a little like antsy with you and you're like, this could go left real quick. What should I do in this moment? You really should just be very kind, okay? So we're having this kind conversation, and I'm like, okay, asking questions, but I'm not getting anything. I'm getting, no, what else do you want from me? Da-da-da. Like, I'm getting a lot of, like, negative feedback and a lot of negative vibes. So halfway through the appointment, we're about an hour into the appointment, and a question was asked about the attachment of her child. And come to find out, she says, I'm dealing with postpartum depression. Now, I could have flipped way early on in the conversation, but I chose to take that road of being concerned about where she was coming from and saying, you know what, I know I have a job to do. I know that I have something to ask you, and I need to get answers from you so that we can provide you with quality service, right? However, come to find out, she's dealing with postpartum depression. She's not in a position to answer these questions today. And if anyone has dealt with depression, you know that when people are asking you questions about the very thing that is causing your depression or has caused it, and either it caught you off guard or something else happened, you know for a fact that that's not something that you can answer right now. So we're asking questions about a baby and, her baby that she loves and she wants to help and she's here to help. But certain questions she's not able to answer because that baby has been, we'll say the starting point, maybe not even necessarily the baby herself was the cause, but the starting point of that depression. So if I would have took that scenario where I'm like, well, I don't know why she was saying this and da-da-da, and I start getting an attitude in myself and I pull out off of those negative vibes, and now we're going back and forth. Now the experience for her is even more negative, and now I've caused something that really came from a hard place for her. Now I'm making her day a lot worse. So in that, it's like, even though her peace was being disrupted, I didn't let that disrupt my peace. And what I did by protecting my peace, I was able to move to a place of understanding to really understand where she was coming from. So it's like, we really have to do that sometimes. And sometimes we're like, and even as believers, like sometimes we do this and we hold tight to our personality type, right? And I mean, this is no shot, but like, it's super popular. Like, try Jesus, don't try me, I throw hands. Like, okay, you might throw hands, but I just feel like sometimes, and this is me, the optimistic person. I completely agree with some people who say that. If that's you, that's cool. But what I would like to say is, can we get to the place where peace is a fruit of God's Spirit inside of you? And so if that is a fruit of God's Spirit on the inside of you, and you walk around saying that you're going to stay free from the things that have kept you bound, whether it's depression, anxiety, being angry all the time, because that's something that can really set people off all the time. If you're always angry or you're always ready to pop off, that rubs off on people, and your being ready to pop off has rubbed off on the next person before you even knew it. And sometimes those scenarios actually end very poorly. So we have to remember in ourselves, do I have inner peace? Number one. If I don't have inner peace, let me figure out why and address that issue. And when people come at us because their inner peace is disrupted, you have to make a very sound decision to say, this person is not going to interrupt my peace today. And you have to walk in it like that. You have to walk around and make sure that you are putting your flag on the ground everywhere you going and saying, I'm not going to allow these people to disrupt my peace. Whether it's work, whether it's family, co-workers, whatever. Another really good example. Sometimes we know we deal with co-workers or people who, will come at us, people that we have to deal with every day. You have to work with people. Sometimes you have to talk to people on the phone, or you're out in the grocery store, whatever it may be. When we engage with each other and we find that there's a scenario going on that really doesn't involve us, or people are trying to bait us into a situation that causes drama, what are we supposed to do? Are you going to get baited, or are you going to be a person who perpetuates peace? So that's another strategy I want to give us for staying free. Be a walking billboard for the peace that you have. And so when people are disrupting everything around you and they want to bait you and they want to ask questions that's going to bait you into a debate and they want to go back and forth with you, it's really no reason to do that. It would be good to say, I'm going to be a peacemaker. The scriptures say, blessed are the peacemakers. Like Jesus himself said that. Like, are you a peacemaker? Are you someone who says, no matter where I go, there will be peace? Is there peace in your home because you live there? Is there peace at your job because you live there? Is there peace? Is there peace in your business? Like wherever you go, you should be the walking billboard for peace. You should be the authority. A friend of mine told me that a while ago and was like, you are the authority of peace wherever you go. And we talked about this on live a little while ago. If you've done this before, like if you've experienced these things where people are in drama and you're like, okay, somebody wants to tell me a dramatic story or they want to bait me into some sort of debate or some sort of argument, you have to make a determination. Is this worth my time? Is this worth my energy? Is it worth my effort? And y'all know I speak to you from a place that is real. Okay, so when we talk free, these are all things that I've done. These are places I've been. Because I'm a highly interactive person, I care about people. And because I genuinely care about people, I care about what they think. And I know sometimes that may sound weird, but some of us, if you didn't have caregivers that cared about what other people thought, this world would be like in shambles. You have to have caregivers. You have to have people that sit down, like counselors and mental health professionals that sit down and say, how are you doing? Because if people didn't care how each other felt, we wouldn't be anywhere. Everybody would be bound. No one would be free. So I feel like it's a really important thing to say, no, some people do have to care what others think. And not in a toxic way. But some of us do have to take on the mantle of saying, you know what? I do care about how your family's doing. And I do want to be there for you. So if some of us are like that, like me, if you're an interactive person and you care about people genuinely, I really want to see y'all free. I don't want to see people walking around here so bound for things that are preventable. You can prevent a lot of the disruption of peace in your life by just being the person that puts that flag in the ground and says, you know what, no matter what's going on in my life today, I will be the authority of peace wherever I go. And if you have God living on the inside of you, God is the establishment of peace. So if God lives in you, everywhere you go, peace should be. And that, like, I'm going to let that settle for a second. Everywhere you go, if God is in you, everywhere you go, every interaction that you have, you should be establishing peace wherever you go. Because God, the God of peace, is on the inside of you. And you know, we're coming up on the holiday season. We're talking about the Prince of Peace. That's what Jesus came to do. He is the Prince of Peace. He did not come for the ultimate disruption in the world. He came to establish peace so that you can have peace in your heart. Not just to reconcile humanity back to God, but so that you can also have peace with God and with yourself. See, we don't want to talk about having peace with ourselves because a lot of times we argue with ourselves. And I wanted to mention that as well. Even if you're the person that's arguing with yourself, sometimes you need to establish peace in you and say, you need to stop arguing with me. This is what we're doing. We're doing this today. We're going to make the right decision. We're not going to respond the wrong way. We're going to respond rightly. We're going to take the high road. We're going to make a decision that has wisdom. We're not going to fall into these bad habits. I will be the establishment of peace wherever I go. And when you make that declaration and you continue to say that over yourself and even to yourself, everywhere you go, you hold it like it's, like it's a title. Like I'm a peacemaker. I establish peace. I have peace in my heart. I have peace in my mind. So if you're up and your thoughts are racing and you find that you can't sleep and you can't engage and interact with people without having negative energy, if you find yourself having an attitude as soon as that person you love says something to you, you need to check your peace and you need to protect your heart. Protect your peace at all costs. It has to happen because without that, now you're creating cycles that don't need to be created. You can end things immediately with that first comment. Okay, I understand. How are you doing? Okay, that's what we can do. And it's not yielding to someone else's will. It's honestly something that And I appreciate that. Thanks so much, TJ. And I appreciate, like, just understanding, like, in your own mind, you have to be an establishment of peace. You have to do it. And these are ways that I've established peace in my own life. I've walked into my offices before. I've walked into places of business when there's all kinds of turmoil and all kinds of stuff is happening. And I would say, this is not a space where we can vent about this. Because you know that sharing stories is secondhand trauma. When people want to share negative stories with you, sometimes you have to cut them off and be like, I'm sorry, I can't hear this right now. I actually have a lot going on. Y'all know it's a lot going on in the world right now. And there's a lot of secondhand and thirdhand trauma going on right now. Even in sharing your story, a way to protect someone else's peace is to be careful how you tell your story. Don't tell it in a traumatic way that's going to, like, for shock value. We don't need that. Tell it with the positive light. Tell the truth. Tell it the real way. But do it in a way where you're guarding other people's peace. And sometimes we have to cut people off and cut some things off and say, you know what? I'm not able to hear this right now. I'll call you tomorrow. Or what are we gonna talk about? What are we gonna talk about tonight? Because, you know, that person says, hey, I gotta talk to you. You immediately respond to that, or you pick up the phone and be like, oh my gosh, what happened? Yo, guess what happened? Okay, wait, is this gonna be about this? Because today I think I've reached my trauma overload. Today, I saw a video I didn't think I needed to see. And if we're going to talk about that, I need some time to process and we need to talk about it tomorrow. These are practical ways. And y'all know when we come to Talk Free in the Stay Free studio, you have to have practical ways to establish ways to stay free. Staying free from anger, staying free from bitterness, and staying free from all these negative emotions that basically create all these vibes that are perpetual. It goes in circles. It's a cycle. And those of you who are married, you know how this goes, or you're in a relationship, even with parents. This really is for anybody, but I know especially with relationships, that person says something to you because they're having a bad day, because you love that person. You're like, what'd you just say? I'm sorry, what? I know she didn't just say that to me, or I know he didn't just, what? I'm sorry, what? Like, you can end the cycle immediately. But are you okay? Can we start the conversation over? That's a good one. You know, can we wait until after? Can we wait until after dinner to talk about this? Can we wait until the kids go to bed? Like, can we wait until we're in a space where I'm not tense? And a lot of times we're not, because we didn't do step one. We didn't check in with ourselves to find out how we're feeling. If you don't know that your peace is already disrupted, you're already ready to be like, what you just say to me? Or why we just... No. Check in with yourself. Be an establishment of peace. Know yourself well enough to know when it's time to have a conversation and when it's not. When it's time to listen to trauma and when it's not. When it's time to watch that video and when it's not. Y'all know video's been circulating like crazy this year. We don't have time to continue to ingest the things that are disrupting our peace. You got to turn it off sometimes. Sometimes you can't see it. And because it continues to happen, are you going to continue to basically shoot yourself in the foot? I'm going to continue to watch the trauma over and over and over and over again. You can't do that to yourself. You are way more valuable than that. Your time is more valuable. Your mind, your heart, your emotions are more valuable than that. Protect your peace at all costs, and you will be free. You'll stay free. All right. So y'all know I don't like to keep you long, but if you have questions now, put them in the chat. I have like one more point that I want to touch on, but if you have questions at this point, go ahead and put them in the chat. I really just, in the midst of that and like helping other people, I want us to be conscious about how others are doing. Okay. Be conscious of how you're doing. Be conscious of how others are doing. This is a way to stop cycles, a way to end cycles. Okay. A way to stay free from the cycles that keep us bound. And then you're wondering why all the emotions are so bottled up and we can't deal with stuff. We can't do it. We can't do it to each other. We need each other. We need each other. We need to support each other. Okay. So let's just do that. So put some hearts down there. Put some fire in the chat if y'all feeling this. And I just wanted to encourage you all. I'm here every single Thursday in the new year. We're heading over to YouTube and Facebook Live. I was going to try Facebook out tonight, but for some reason I don't know. just was working out. I'm here for Instagram right now. So in the meantime, in between time, we're gonna we're still gonna do all 3 platforms. So if you're an Instagram person, don't worry, I'm not leaving you. But we are gonna get things in place where in 2021 we got to go live on all platforms, because there were so many people, even last week when we had to move to Facebook, people were very very concerned that we were only on Instagram. So when we talk free in the Stay Free studio, I need you all to just show up so that you can get tools that you can use. Okay, show up so you can get the tools and be out of here. And I went a little over time today, but if you have any questions, feel free to DM me. If you have any comments, you have anything you want to comment on this, I'm going to post some highlights of the video. It's going to be on IGTV. And in the meantime, guys, until I see y'all next week, I really thank you all for joining me and being here, talking free with me in the Stay Free studio. Protect your peace this week. And until I see you again next Thursday at 9:30 right here on Instagram with Joy Stays Free, stay free. All right. Peace.